this is I really enjoy a lot of Space Tomato content. I don't watch as much of it as I would like to. I like watching his podcasts and his having fellow content creators and streamers on, and I really enjoy those discussions. There's a lot of sometimes there's a lot of discussion points that I never even thought of when he has those individuals on. But here is Space Tomato. Starfield could not be coming at a better time. So let's see what good old Tomatoes got to say.
Mass Effect was a great series of games. Knights of the Old Republic defined RPGs for many people.
Exactly,
Dead Space
Jim.
made the gaming industry a bit more aware of how scary space is. These were all good games, and even something like No Man's Sky has done a decent job of attracting attention across PC and consoles to the genre. But let's be honest, space games and sci-fi as a whole have been leaving a lot to be desired lately, especially in the RPG area. We saw a canceled Prey 2, a canceled Star Wars 1313, a failed Anthem, and the list goes on. It's been rough, especially after seeing a multitude of heavyweights in the larger fantasy genre having a heyday just about every year of the last decade. That's not a bad thing. More good games is more good times for everybody.
I gotta say, I'm a little upset about Port Olisar going away. It's one of my favorite stations. The ease of getting in and out of there is great, and the fact that I don't have to be on an elevator for anything makes my day. And while it may not have that many food amenities, but we all know Cruise Lux is God in Star Citizen when it comes to food and drink. It has a decent armor and a decent weapons selection, and although it may not have medical, it's one of my favorite stations in the system, and it really kind of breaks my heart that they're getting rid of it. Let's continue with Space Tomato.
And fantasy is a pretty cool genre, but the smaller, more niche sci-fi genre, while making good progress, could use a bit of a boost. Starfield could be that boost. It's coming at the perfect time and could lead to a reckoning across the industry for 4 main reasons.
Space is
Thank you
hype.
for coming to my Tomato Talk.
Oh, you're welcome. Where are the space games?
Before finding Star Citizen, a game I cover often,
I don't know about you guys, but maybe I grew up in like prime space game decade. When I was growing up, I had X-Wing, TIE Fighter, Descent, Wing Commander, Civilization, Alpha Centauri. I'm trying to remember some of the other space games that were out there. XCOM. There were so many good 90s sci-fi games. I mean, obviously they don't compare. The graphics don't compare to what we can do these days. But back then, those were top of the line games, and I miss them. I really miss them. And there was a certain type of love that went into those games, and I hope we can get that love for sci-fi back. Cruise Lex's Life, it's a great station for scrapers. It'll be back soon, TM. I am also gonna get Starfield.
I was at a bit of a loss for what to pursue next in my thirst for more zero-G fun.
Free space,
This
yeah.
actually didn't make much sense since there wasn't much zero-G in Mass Effect, but let's go with that. In March of 2011, Mass Effect 3 came out and I played it like a madman. The conclusion of one of the best space operas in gaming was...
Sorry for pausing again almost immediately. I recently picked up the Mass Effect trilogy for like $14 on Steam. If anybody would like me to play that on stream once a week, let me know in either the comment section or in chat if you guys would like to watch that.
Was amazing to me with a couple disappointments, but I needed more. I had always been hooked on games like KOTOR and Prey.
KOTOR was great.
And with 1313 being held on hold in Q2 of 2013 and Prey 2 being shelved in 2014, I was in need of a fix. And honestly, neither of those two games really met it anyways. But since then, we've seen a bit of a resurgence in the space game genre. While efforts were small,
Solaris
studios like
is a good
Frontier and
game.
CIG were building space MMOs. Hard Space gave us a dedicated ship salvager, Outer Wilds was an amazing smaller title,
I didn't play
and if
that
you
one.
don't count Mass Effect Andromeda, Outer Worlds gave us our first major space-based RPG experience of the decade in the last year.
I didn't play
of the
Outer
decade.
Worlds.
But I basically just named every major space-based experience you'd find on a space game list, not including things like 4X and real-time strategy games. And if you look at sci-fi RPGs, you'll find Final Fantasy listed as number 1. I mean, it's got the elements, but it's a bit of a stretch to call it science.
Final Fantasy was my game for a long time on PlayStation 2, I think that was. I don't remember if it was PlayStation 1 or 2, but either way, or anyway, it doesn't matter. I have a save file. I have a save file where I have every single materia mastered. All of them, even the master materias, all mastered. Hours and hours and thousands of hours of gameplay put into that. Pass on Andromeda. Yeah, I picked up Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. KOTOR was great. Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront 2 was amazing.
Science fiction, in my opinion. Though there are some other experiences to be had in sci-fi. Cyberpunk 2077, The Ascent, Deus Ex, Horizon Zero Dawn, Fallout,
Horizon Zero Dawn
and
was
even
good.
some Star Wars games. And while these franchises gained plenty of attention, the space games I've been mentioning
PS1,
never
yes.
really saw a major hit, like Skyrim, The Witcher 3, Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate, Greedfall, Bloodborne, Breath of the Wild, Monster Hunter, Souls games, Sekiro, Assassin's Creed, God of War, Tears of the Kingdom. You get the point. It's been bare compared to other genres, and despite all these other space games that are doing quite well on their own, the genre is in need of a major player to bring that hype mainstream again. It certainly doesn't need to be the best game out there, but an average game that opens the doors for the average gamer to learn more about what's even possible in space games now is kind of necessity. And
Yes.
what's possible in these games, as we've seen from Starfield previews, is a lot more than it used to be. We've been going to space for over half a century, and it's been such a common occurrence that only a small percentage of the population still got excited for it by the 2000s. And while there were many ongoing projects, the original excitement for space exploration in the late 20th century had died down for a while. It only took one firm shake to the industry as rocket launching technology was flipped on its head to change all that. Since SpaceX made a big name for itself in the US, we've been seeing the most launch activity since the 90s. Excitement for space exploration has never been higher. SpaceX has been running missions constantly, with other companies like Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin also conducting launches alongside governments around the world. Space-based movies and TV shows have also exploded in recent years, with new original ideas and older IPs being made new again. And of course, the incredible feat that is the James Webb Space Telescope is now orbiting Earth's L2 Lagrange point, looking back in time and delivering some unprecedented views into space we thought was empty. But that's only half the story. There have always been pretty obvious restrictions on space games. I mean, space is big. The things inside space also happen to be big. The attempts at building large areas to enjoy these games has proven difficult for developers in the past. Computer power has limited the creativity and scope of these projects and the ability for players to actually explore the planets in the game. But we've seen from Star Citizen to No Man's Sky, Elite Dangerous to Astroneer, not only are studios able to create much more convincing worlds and biomes, but they can now be rendered and loaded in much more easily. And we've figured out how to hide that loading to some extent. We've been able to watch how this has become possible by watching Star Citizen's development cycle. And while no two games are the same, we know that Bethesda is using a similar method of creation to generate its 1,000 planets to explore.
Using
while simply loading a map to walk around on and calling it a planet might not seem all that impressive, there is a ton that goes into the creation or organization of this kind of system. Now, like I said, it's not quite the same as Star Citizen, which goes much more in depth, but what the player sees is kind of what matters to most people. I have a few.
Here's my take. We're 5 minutes into this 12-minute video. Here's Fallout's technically a sci-fi. It's like a 1950s, it's like what we thought the 1950s would, or in the 1950s what the future would be like, and it's kind of like a split off of that. while we have you pause, thanks for the 10 likes, guys on Kick. Thanks for following. Thanks for viewing. I really hope that Star Citizen kind of kicks in the door for sci-fi space games, and we see a revival in it. Not just the linear shooters that we got in the 90s, you know, like X-Wing, like TIE Fighter. I really hope we get a good plethora of games that come out over the next 10 years because not just because of Starfield, but because of Starfield, Star Citizen, you know, Elite Dangerous to a point because it's kind of dead, but X4 and, you know, the Kerbal Space Program and several others out there, maybe even Spaceborne 2, you know, turns a corner because it's pretty rough from what I've seen. It looks good, but it's pretty rough in some spots. But maybe these few games can really usher in a new wave of, like, kind of like how the 90s were with just all these popular sci-fi games coming out. I hope we can get that again. Good morning, Pagan.
Few videos going over the whole process that I can link down below for you. But comparing what we're seeing with Starfield to something like Mass Effect Andromeda, which was shooting for a similar experience, tells me there's no denying the progress we've seen in gaming hardware, internet capabilities, and the tools provided in these game engines that alleviate some of the development strains a game like this may have encountered before. It's still not easy. It took a company like Bethesda 8 years to figure something like this out, but between the excitement of the public and these newfound possibilities in game development, it makes perfect sense for a...
So real quick, I don't have the video for it, but I believe it was Space Tomato last week did a video on, like, comparing and contrasting the hype behind Star Citizen versus Star Citizen versus Starfield. And the first trailer for Starfield got like 12 million views, and then that launch video that they did got something like 5 million views, and then their most recent trailer is sitting at like 17 million views. The best Star Citizen video available on YouTube is from 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. It's called Imagine. It's called Star Citizen Imagine, and it's sitting at 2 million views. So I'm hoping Starfield will bring enough people into it, give people just enough that they're like, I want more. I want to pilot my ship all the way down to the planet. I want this. I want that. I want that.
Long remembered.
And thanks, Pagan. I appreciate that. I really hope that they come to Star Citizen. Now, this is a big kind of like, but when they come to Star Citizen is a little bit further along in their development process, and they have a little bit more openness with where they want to go and how they're going to do it. But yeah, that's kind of my hope.
AAA studio to take a shot at an opportunity like this in a way that hasn't been attempted at this scale yet. As I've made pretty clear throughout the video, there are quite a few interesting space-based games that already exist.
Ooh, Hot Alien.
But none of them really hit that single-player character-based space opera that Mass Effect nailed. Outer Worlds was great, but not the same caliber or scale. It was a good taste. And when you look at other options or even discussions found online, you'll find plenty of fans of this genre that have not had a central cause to rally behind in a while. No Man's Sky makes for great multiplayer. Elite Dangerous has truly blown the mind with its scale and exploration. Star Citizen manages to create incredibly detailed and interactive spaceships. FTL generates some amazing encounters you'd only find in space. X4 offers a less polished version of the true Space Voyager experience.
I heard X4 is really good.
Is exactly as the name implies. But overall, we haven't seen a game bring these aspects together in any major way, quite like a big-budget game might be able to for the more casual player. Starfield, from the makers of Skyrim and Morrowind, is at a level above these titles in terms.
Semi, I used to think the same way. I think it's the title dependent. I think it's title dependent. Look, I'm not going to lie and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Saturday, I took a break from streaming and I just wanted to relax. You know, the new job is really physically and mentally taking a toll on me. And I'm not going to lie, I am looking for something else already. It's only been a month and yeah. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But during that little break, I grabbed Doom 2016. I want to be careful how I word this. I had a lot of fun and just mindless, bloodthirsty glory kills throughout Doom. And I got about halfway through the game. And it was so relaxing not having to worry about bugs, whether or not my ship was going to explode, whether or not I was going to 30K and lose everything and have to go fly from Microtech all the way to our corp to go and pick up my ship with all its contents. It was really nice to not have to watch desyncing jitters across my screen. I wasn't falling through levels. I wasn't falling through planets. It was a really nice break from all of the trials, tribulations, and bugs that Star Citizen brings your way. Am I saying that I'm never going to play Star Citizen again? No, I'm not. Am I saying that it was a nice break from Star Citizen? It really, really was. It was well needed because there are days I just want to slam my head into the desk because Star Citizen is not working right. And we all know that's mostly either to netcode or an event going on, which once again goes back to netcode. So paying links, X4 is good, but it has a large RTS element. You can play RPG mode, but time required you to zoom out. Okay, I get it. Project Zomboid in that game is good to get away. I've heard a lot of good things. I haven't played it.
In terms of development efforts, this is a game that will entice space enthusiasts as much as RPG enthusiasts, fans of Bethesda, and your AAA gamer just looking for a new interesting take. There's a good chance for a game like Starfield to capitalize on the desires and hype that have drawn players to these games, to grab their attention and keep hold of it with Bethesda's deeper story and character development. The kicker is, the success of Starfield could be a boon for these games and the industry as a whole.
I hope so.
That same phenomenon of players being drawn from less popular games will likely reverse itself as well. As players discover the possibilities of a game like Starfield, there's no doubt some players will look for a deeper experience that focuses more on a specific niche feature that have seen deeper growth and development in other games. While Cyberpunk 2077 didn't land completely on its feet, the game led to more focus on the genre. Games like Stray, The Ascent, Ghost Runner, Deus Ex, and Cloudpunk all likely saw increases in popularity from players looking for more cyberpunk experiences, if not only for a short time. No matter how players react to this game, there's no denying the healthy foundation that already exists in the genre to fuel Starfield and provide additional options for newcomers. What remains to be seen is if that foundation is good enough to keep players around after Starfield has faded away.
Make or break. Let's see what he means by this.
I'm sure there have already been plenty of comments about how little people trust Bethesda Softworks now. Seriously, somebody tally them up down below. But hear me out. I'm not a lifelong Bethesda fan. I've played a few of the games, but I've only bought one copy of Skyrim. I skipped Fallout 76, and I'm actually not a huge fan of either of their two main franchises. That being said, I'm not inclined to write them off after a couple major bad launches.
Gamer, what's up?
And that goes without saying, the messaging around this game is pointing more towards the older and more celebrated games of Bethesda. The games that focus more on the RPG aspects and the customizations of characters.
Awesome. Oblivion was awesome.
It is a new IP with a pretty hefty amount of work and effort put into setting a foundation for more games in the future.
You know what? Here's the sci-fi game, or here's a sci-fi line of game I didn't see Space Tomato talk about at all, and is one that is very near and dear to my heart, and that would be the Mech Warrior series. Now, I didn't play the original Mech Warrior, but I played Mech Warrior 2, 3, 4, 5, Mech Commander, Mech Assault, Battletech. I even played the BattleTech pen and paper game. So I'm deep into that lore. I'm deep into that universe. Even if you don't play those games, if you want a space centrified Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones even existed, BattleTech. Check it out. It's amazing. I love the lore. I absolutely adore that lore. It's so good.
We've also seen talk from Todd Howard of a newly updated engine used for both Starfield and the next Elder Scrolls, but there's no knowing how big a difference it might actually be. Given other statements like the intense focus on bug fixing and QA work for this game, and the obvious lack of many other major titles from Bethesda landing very well in recent years, even on the publishing side, this game is looking more and more important for Bethesda every month.
That's cool, Squirrel.
And finally, it's clear that Microsoft is putting a lot of focus on this title as well. The game may have been part of the main immediate benefits of acquisition, but it also gives Microsoft an easy step into the next genre of game series without developing an entirely new IP. Much like in 2006 with the original Mass Effect, Microsoft may have managed to lock in one of the biggest sci-fi series of the decade. Whether that is true or not is yet to be seen. But go back to E3 of 2021 when Microsoft and Bethesda made their debut side by side. Look at which game opens the show. Look at which game ends the show. Look at what games it is sharing those spotlights with, and look at how cleanly Starfield fits into the catalog of games going forward. In 2022, Starfield was presented as the one more thing focus of the show. And in 2023, it had an entire additional hour dedicated after the Microsoft Games showcase.
That's true.
Say what you will about Bethesda, Xbox Game Studio seems to have settled on a golden child for the foreseeable future. Though we will see what comes of Fable eventually. Now, I'm not saying all is good and things are going to be great with the launch of Starfield. No more of that. This same exact scenario was possible with 2077 and its own genre, as we touched on. And while that game made a difference, with the better game, I think we'd
stayed
have
away
a
from
bit of a different
2077.
conversation in 2023 with
The
just the
Cyberpunk.
first major DLC around the corner.
I wanted to try it, but
No, this video isn't meant to be
yet.
hype. It was heavy on hype. Sorry about that, but it's not a hype piece. It's just my summary of the reasons I think Starfield could be a big-time game, and why I believe the stage is pretty set for it to actually have a tangible impact on the gaming industry at large. AAA launches.
If Starfield launches well, or at least recovers from any bad launch within the first month, it's going to be one of the biggest games of the year.
Especially with Bethesda, have not bolstered my confidence enough to be convinced this game will live up to the moment. So I'm cautious, optimistic, and interested in what might happen here. I also wouldn't mind an above-average space-based RPG, so there's that. This could be Elder Scrolls Skyrim in space, or it could just be another passing entertaining game that grips players for a year before the next big thing. I'll be following the game here and on my second channel, where I've already hosted a couple podcast episodes on it. So if you're interested in more and want to keep up with the game, check back later or consider subscribing here.
Oh, I am buying this game.
I hope you learned something new in this video, and I'll catch you in the next.
I am buying this game, and I'm sharing it with those that haven't bought it or don't want to try it out. But that was a great video. That was Space Tomato, guys. Great video. I think he really nailed that one. Fantastic. Fantastic stuff, guys. So that was Space Tomato. Always high quality content from Space Tomato.